What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? It's your boy Chris Style. I got my guys in here. It's Super Bowl week. We here, Chiefs Kingdom, finally after a long week of boredom, sitting around waiting
It
for
was.
this week to come. Finally here, Super Bowl week, and we're gonna jump this thing off. We got a lot of things to get into, so get ready and let's talk Chiefs.
Yeah, Arrowhead Chiefs. It's your girl, Miss Nicole. Queen of Hustle, baby. Started from the bottom, now we here. My homie at the start of his career. Let's go. Try to warn him early, hear the truth. Tuning every Sunday for the juice. Arrowhead Chiefs podcast, bringing all the news. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Chris Style, out here rapping for the crew. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Hope everybody's having a good morning. Like I said, it's Super Bowl week. We are here and ready to get this thing going. Before I do, want to give an introduction. What's up, Ty? How you doing, man?
Doing good, ready for this week. Like you said, last week was boring, sitting around watching some of the NBA news play out, but it's Super Bowl week. It's time. It's time.
For sure. And I got my guy, DJ Ant. What's going on, D? What's up, man?
Here. I'm here.
This is stupid.
I'm here.
You know what it is. We finally here for the moment. So,
Yep.
just taking in all the different news and all the speculation and all the different stories I found amusing and stuff like that. But don't take away from the bottom line is, hey, it's Super Bowl week is here. Let's go.
For sure. Clarence will try to tap in a little later. He had some prior business to take care of, but hopefully he could, tap in a little later. So but let's go ahead and kick this thing off, man. It's Super Bowl week. And we got a lot of Super Bowl storylines going into this game. You got the Kelsey Bowl. You got
Yep.
Andy Reid, playing his old former team. You got Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts being the first black quarterbacks playing against that's historic, storyline right there. You even got an underrated storyline of Nick Sirianni being
Yep.
a former Chiefs assistant. He was an assistant from 2009 to 2012. So he's been part of this organization before the Andy Reid regime took over. He was part of the last regime.
The Todd Haley
Haley.
regime.
Todd Haley, yeah.
Yeah, Ty Haley, Romeo Cornell. So there's storylines all over the place. But I think the most important storyline of this is the health and focus of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not worried about, Pat, Travis, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, some of the guys that who've been on this team that were there for the first Super Bowl run, who, went to the second Super Bowl run and felt that defeat. I'm not worried about those guys. It's the rookies. It's the Trent McDuffies. It's the Brian Cooks. It's the Leo Chenals. It's those guys that this is their first time. Even Juan Thornhill, even though he was part of the team, he had tore his ACL, so he wasn't really a part of the team. He probably got the experience. He doesn't know what it's like to be on that field and play on Super Bowl Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they prepare. You're hearing stories of, I heard James Palmer talking about how to keep those guys comfortable, they took all the stuff that they have in the office, they made the same settings in the offices that they're practicing at. So everything looks the same. When they go into the training facilities, everything looks the same. So these guys can feel comfortable because this week is going to be different. They're going to be pulled several different ways. Mahomes, you're going to see him, that's why they call it, media row, because there's so much going on. You got this publication asking you questions. You got this person asking you stupid ass questions. Like, they just they asking questions left and right. You got events probably going on. Somebody's putting on a party or something. You got to make an appearance or whatever. So it's going to be interesting for these young guys to stay focused, have time for them to do film study, and be ready for Super Bowl Sunday. And that's going to what it's really going to come down to, come Super Bowl Sunday. Because even the Eagles have guys who were on that Super Bowl
Yeah.
team when they won, but they also have guys who haven't been there. So they're going through the same thing that we're going through. Is that they got to learn how to balance. Okay, I want to enjoy the week, but I also got to be focused because at the end of the day, it's about playing football on Sunday and getting that ultimate prize, which is the Super Bowl. So I think that's the major story at all. The injury report. Is Juju going to be enough to, I don't, think he's not going to play, but is he going to be healthy enough to contribute on Sunday? Is Kadarius Tony going to be healthy so we can rely on him, or is he just going to be out there and being a decoy? Because you saw that Miko, he just got put on the injury reserve and they activated CEH. What does that mean? We're going to see a little bit more CEH in this game. I know that Ty don't like hearing those words, but I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom don't like hearing those words. But it's the reality of the
Yeah.
situation that we need to be as healthy as we're going to be. I'm not worried about Pat. I think Pat's going to be. I actually think he's going to be more healthy than what he was in the AFC Championship game. He got a
Most
whole
definitely.
week. He had a whole week to stay off their leg. I don't think they did any like hard practices this week. They probably did some walkthroughs and just enough to prepare for the week. I think they're going to really do the real heavy lifting and hard, practicing this week.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think that they try to push him too hard. I think they wanted him to rest, get that ankle as best as he can get it for the Super Bowl. I think Travis is going to be more healthy than what he was last week with his back spasms. They probably made him, do all kinds of treatment, but it's more so the question of Juju and his knee, Kadarius Tony and hamstring and his ankle, L'Jarius Sneed. We're definitely going to need L'Jarius
Yeah.
Sneed in this game, to be out there with those young guys. So is he going to be good enough to get out of concussion protocol? So, that's for me. I can only speak for me, in my opinion. That's the major storyline for me. What are some of the storylines that you guys feel that stick out for this game?
Yeah, no, I agree with you when it comes to health and how healthy these guys are going to be, because I think Juju and Tony are going to play. Snead is still yet to be seen. I would assume he clears that concussion protocol with that extra week, but
Yeah.
how healthy are they really going to be when they're out there, especially with the receivers? I know Justin Watson's coming back,
Yeah.
and I know what I've said about CEH in the past, but honestly, this is a game where you might actually need to use him, whether that's as a blocker, to spell McKinnon a little bit here or there, whether that's as a receiver out the backfield, or you just hand him the ball. I really think you could use all three running backs in this game, especially with the health of the receivers. But my other big storyline is going into this game, the Eagles' biggest weakness on defense is tight ends, covering tight ends all year. And the Chiefs love to use that 2 or 3 tight end set. It's going to be hard for them to slow down Travis, Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson all at the same time if they're out there on the field together. So that's another big storyline for me.
Go ahead.
Looking at the very beginning, this as far as with all the speculation and talking about numbers and all that stuff, we're playing chess, not checkers here in this one.
Yep.
We're talking about coaches that have been looking at tape, and this, like I said, we always echoed as far as in one of these rounds in particular that this is where the defensive coordinators get paid, because you don't see all the high flying, high scoring games that you normally would. I was not surprised as far as that. I don't think anybody really was surprised as far as that with Hartman being put on IR. I don't think anybody should have been surprised as far as with CH being activated. Doing a little bit of homework for those that actually kind of pay attention, look at some of the details. Last year they played the Eagles. Now it may not necessarily be the full same team, but you kind of look at some of their tendencies. What people don't realize is that CH had over 100 yards last year rushing. How is that able to happen? Well, if you watch the tape and just go back and look at it from last year, you'll see a little bit of it. That was even before it started to get a little bit out of hand, and then and I think the final score like 42-30 or something like that. But like I said, it's like don't be surprised you see a little bit of the out of the ordinary Cris pretty much spoke to as far as they preparing these rookies. One thing I did like about Jalen Watson when they was asking about as far as like what they expect from the rookie play, he had a simple response to saying, "What rookies?" I said, "You know
Right.
what? You had every right to respond in that manner because the way that you guys have played like vets." Obviously, as far as with the rookies and the different expectations and those that have been playing the game, you have a longer halftime, you have longer commercial breaks, but all these different things are taking longer, much more time for obvious reasons, stuff like that. It just gives the upper hand for the preparation as far as with these coaching staff and getting these players ready to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Hey, what's going on, Mitch? He, he'll be on the show. He'll be on the show tomorrow. So shout out to Mitch, man. Uh, but yeah, man. And another storyline will be, you got to understand that we got two, highly experienced coaches and
Yep.
Andy Reid and Sweat and Spags going against Nick Sirianni and I think his name is Jonathan Gannon, who are two young, they're very young coaches, and this is, a big spot for both of them. They can build a legend, a legacy from this.
Yep.
Taking down Andy Reid and beating Andy Reid and Spags in the Super Bowl, that's not a small feat. You know what I'm saying? You're going against the best of two of the best, you know, offensive and defensive minds that are out there. You know what I'm saying? And with both of them, with the experiences that they had, you know, you're going against the elite. And so for Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon, it's gonna be interesting to see what they bring to the table. Are they this is where they're gonna show, are they
Right.
the top upper echelon of coaches out there? You know what I'm saying? Or they're going against the best of the best right now. So it's gonna be experience versus youth.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's one of the major stories. And what Mark said, the chess match that we're gonna have. We all know how Andy Reid is after a bye. you know, he takes a deep dive. He's pulling out tapes from 1947.
Collecting dust.
He's pulling plays out of 1947 when they had the leather helmets. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's where his creative scheme really starts to fall in place, and then how that's
yeah,
echoed down with the OC and how that's going to look. I mean, we're talking about games, and usually these are the games that people are looking at as far as the coaching positions. Some of them that have yet to be filled, some of them where it's like you be looking in the future for next year, because we know there's going to be coaches getting fired for next year. People are going to
Yep.
be looking at this game. How did you handle it? Who's like, would they be the best person for the job? I mean, it's going to be a very entertaining game to watch.
yeah, it definitely is going to be entertaining, and it's going to come down to adjustments too.
Yep.
Who can make the better adjustments? Once the game starts flowing, starts going, whoever gets a lead. You know, I'm not. I'm not. We're not worried if our team gets down because we've seen our team get down and come back. You know what I'm saying? They're resilient. They don't blink. They don't get down on themselves. They don't do that. They just keep fighting. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
They keep
And
clawing back in.
this is no disrespect to the Eagles. It's just this year we haven't really seen them have to take a big, go down big and have to come back. A lot of time this year they've been up by so much.
They've been up a lot, and they just
You
run
know,
the ball.
yeah, and, other than a few games, I would say the Colts game. You know what I'm saying, they had a little bit of adversity there, and they ended up winning 17-16. They pulled it out there. But other than that, most of the games they've been pretty much smoking the teams that they played. Or they scored enough points to where they didn't have to really pull it out at the end. They just held on to the lead. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments each team makes. From Andy and Spags to Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon. So that would be the chess match, going forth, and how these rookies respond in the Super
Yep.
Bowl. Now you're in another level of play. You did good in the AFC Championship game, but that's left in the AFC Championship game. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to take it to another level, Trent McDuffie. You got to take it to another level, Jalen Watson and George Karlaftis. Like, you guys got to take it to another level now. This is the game of all games. You know what I'm saying? You guys can really build your name, if you do good in this game, if Trent McDuffie finally gets an interception, or Jalen Watson gets another interception. Same thing with Joshua Williams. If Brian Cook makes a big play, tackling somebody or breaking up a pass, if George Karlaftis gets a sack, like going into next season, and of course you get the W, but going into next season, now you guys are getting looked at. Okay, Chiefs defense, they're gonna be something next year, especially if they add more pieces to the defense surrounding them. You're gonna be talking about. You're gonna hear Trent McDuffie's name next year. You're gonna hear Jalen Watson's name and George Karlaftis' name going into next season, and that's gonna be it. We're already the Super Bowl favorites going into next year. They already got us as the
Exactly.
favorite at plus
And they already got
500.
12 picks.
Yeah.
12 picks this offseason.
So it's a lot of storylines and narratives that can be put out there that's gonna go into the off season.
Yeah.
And so this is my next question to you guys, and I'll let you guys kick this question off. Who is this game more important for, Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes?
I'm going to say Andy Reid just because he's coming to the end of his career. I mean, let's call it like it is. I'm not saying he's retiring anytime soon, but he's probably got maybe 5 years left, before he really starts to think about it. And Mahomes, he's got plenty of time to win another Super Bowl. So for me, it's got to be Andy Reid, but I could see where you could go both ways with this one.
I'll play the Mahomes card on this one. I believe that at the same time he's respected, but at the same time he's still disrespected. I mean, he's heard it all year long. I mean, bottom line is that who are people going to more so talk about? They're going to talk about Mahomes over Reid. That's the reality of it. We've heard it talks about Josh Allen being over him. You talked about Burrow and the Burrowhead chatter. You talked about the loss of Tyreek Hill. He's not going to be the same thing. And it's gone all the way back even to before it's like his career even took off. The doubt of this footwork. There's like, why would they draft a quarterback when he's why would you draft a quarterback, somebody who may not start 2 years later? And how that same chatter has come all the way up to this year. I mean, we've even talked about to where we're starting to compare the legacies and whatnot and stuff like that. But I think with a win here, not only does it really create another conversation as far as his legacy and where he stands as far as the top overall quarterback, but I think even in the present time, it shuts a lot of people up as far as like putting up when you have the Burrows and also the Josh Allen and stuff like that. I respect their game. I respect it, but I respect as far as like what they do for their respective teams. But bottom line is that Mahomes there has not been anybody that's been like a Mahomes. Show me somebody else that has been to as many AFC championship games right out of the gate. Show me another player that's had this much success as far as like getting into Super Bowls, almost like where it seems like the floor is the AFC championship game.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That's the floor. Everybody else, and we're still making arguments for Josh Allen, who's had moments where he's missed playoffs and stuff like that and dealt with that versus some things you can't control. But in the moments where he had to be, it's like it was the time for the spotlight to be on him. He's shown himself.
Yeah.
He only had one bad half, one really bad half in the playoffs, and that was last year. But for him to be able to overcome all these different challenges, what everybody said, and all the doubters and everything, he has help carry this team to where they are now. If there is no Mahomes, they're simply just not at this point. They don't have the success that they're having.
No, I agree with that.
I agree. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes too. But you can't go wrong with either answer. I just think Andy's already solidified. Like Belichick is already considered worldwide. He's the best coach of all time. But in this current era of coaches, I would, I think a lot of people consider Andy Reid as like he's like right underneath them because Andy has always given Belichick problems. It's always been a chess match when they play each other. It's just always been that way. So, and I just think Andy's done so much. Like he's done so much. He's solidified. He's already a Hall of Famer. I think him getting the one ring just kind of like solidified him. He's good. He's a made man. His yellow jacket is waiting for him in camp. I
just think the offensive side. I mean, you're talking about two brilliant minds, though. It's like Andy more offensive side. I mean, if you say offensive coach,
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's your
saying. Like,
guy.
like Andy has taken the West Coast offense and done it. He's expounded on it and made it something, and he continues to adjust and
Every
do.
season.
He evolves his system. Now we can make the argument as far as Belichick is a great coach because he's stern and he don't play that. You know what I'm saying? If something ain't right, he gonna get rid of it. Andy's a little bit more. He's a player's coach. Every player that has ever played for him, except for maybe one Le'Veon Bell, whatever. He was tripping, but other than that, every player who's played for Andy loves him. You know what I'm saying? Has nothing but great things to say about him. Um, and he's always gotten the best out of every quarterback
Yep.
that's played underneath him. Every quarterback that's played underneath him. So that's why I just feel like he's known as the offensive. You see every week teams taking stuff from Andy's playbook. You know what I'm saying? Like the jet sweeps. Wasn't nobody doing that before Andy.
That little tight end screen that everybody
Yeah.
started doing this season. A little tight end bubble pass. It don't really work.
Right.
Shady. I think Shady likes
No. Shady loves Andy.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that.
Shady, it's Le'Veon Bell. Shady don't like EB.
Yeah, he don't
Yeah.
like EB.
Shady don't like EB.
But even Shady made it very clear in a couple of interviews like last week, though. He's definitely a big fan of Andy. He was talking about he was talking about the differences as far as the Andy then versus the Andy now, because they said Andy was no joke. He didn't have much of a tolerance for rookies at all. He didn't even talk to rookies, he didn't bother with rookies.
Yeah, he didn't.
Andy said it himself. He said, "What's the difference between young Andy and?" He said on Colin Cowherd. He said the difference between young Andy and this Andy is I was mean.
Mm-hmm.
He was mean when he was with the Eagles. I even seen videos, they showed Andy on the sideline when he was with the Eagles. He was like, "Get that camera out of my face." I was like, "Oh, that's Andy Reid."
He changed a lot since he came here.
Whoa, what is going on? So, but no, but as far as Patrick goes, if he gets this Super Bowl ring, the talk is over. We can like national media, they can try to come up whatever they try to come up with, but he has separated him. He's already separated himself.
He already did, but
he's already separated himself. But this ring will finally be like, yo, I don't want to hear nothing about no Joe Burrows. I don't want to hear nothing about no Josh Allen. I don't want you next year when Jacksonville does whatever they're gonna do and pick up players.
talking about Trevor Lawrence.
And now Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback, and he's coming from Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to hear none of that.
The NFL ranks and all that stuff, when they do that, the top 100, he should be no less than 1 point.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
Top 2 and not 2.
I mean, you can even make the case. I mean, I'm gonna take a page out of Nick Wright's playbook and everything. You can have Mahomes, then one-legged Mahomes. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean,
Put him second.
What else does he need to do to show you that, hey, he's the greatest? I'm here for the moment. I don't know what else he got to do. What we got to do? Put up 100?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So yeah, I just think that it's more important for Mahomes because it's going to solidify what we already know. It's going to double stamp what we already know. Yes, I agree with you, Ty. He's only 27. We assume that he's going to be back in this spot. But there's a chance. There's a chance.
It's true.
And he might not. You know what I'm saying? Because he can't control everything on this team. He can't control injuries. He can't control what Andy Reid's going to do. We don't know what Andy's going to do. Maybe Andy gets this ring and sits back and be like, I've done everything I wanted to do. I got my 2 rings now. Might want to ride off in the sunset thing. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how Patrick and let's say he doesn't do that. When Andy does leave, we don't know how Mahomes is going to respond to another coach. You know what I'm saying? You hear him in every interview. As long as I keep Andy Reid here, you know what I'm saying? If Matt Nagy becomes the head coach, we don't know how that dynamic goes. The play calling is going to be different.
It's
You know
gonna
what
be
I'm saying?
bad.
Schematics, all that
I,
stuff.
I ain't gonna do that tonight. I don't know.
It's gonna be bad play
He,
call. That's what
he
it's
had
gonna
Mitchell. He had Mitchell Trubisky over there, man. He went to the playoffs a couple times with Mitchell Trubisky. Let's not do that to Matt.
be.
But bottom line is that Mahomes could say, I mean, you wouldn't want to say that at all, but Mahomes could like literally say, I'm done with my career for whatever reason. Say, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. He would have his jacket tomorrow. It would not matter.
Yep.
He's done more than enough. All he's doing just adding more to and more and more to the resume, which is only going to bolster him up. I mean, even so, it's like some of the different conversations, stuff like that. I realistically don't even think he has to win 7.
I
don't
don't
think he
think
has
so
to.
either.
He don't have to. He could win 4, and I think he would still have a chance of cracking that number 1. I mean, you can
MJ
make
didn't have to pass Bill Russell, did he? When
no,
it comes to rings.
no.
No, he didn't. He did. It all goes to and I heard somebody say this one time that 10 years from now, when you're showing your kid, when Ty is showing his kids, in 10
10
years,
years.
in 10
I
years when
need more
Ty,
time than that. No.
he'll be like 30, man. In 10 years when he's showing little Ty that Brady is the best quarterback of all time, and he looks at highlights of Patrick Mahomes, he's gonna be like, how?
Yep.
How is that guy better than this guy? Because when I'm seeing with my eyes, this guy's 10 times better than this guy.
Exactly.
But you know what? That's the standard, though. It's like as far as like the generational shift, we always had that one group. It's like the one group of people say, "Oh, I want to play like Montana," or even that time when Mike Vick was kind of like doing like the little razzle dazzle. I want to play like Mike Vick. I want to run like him. Or it's like Mahomes is that
Good question.
standard
Yep.
today. He is the standard. It's like as far as that's what people tremble over. It was like when they talk the MVP conversation, he's consistently up there. That's one thing about Mahomes. Granted, some of the mechanics or whatever. I mean, every quarterback has a challenge, but bottom line, his name is up there when it comes to as far as like being a face or being that guy in the NFL that people tremble over.
And he changed the position. I mean, let's call it like it is. He changed the way it's played.
I mean, people were sitting there trying to figure out, like, as far as like this quarterback is probably the most studied quarterback in the NFL, even this year, even when they had to make the adjustments and stuff like that, as far as like going 2 safety high, and then what is that going to look like now?
It took him 3 years to do that. It took him 3 years to figure that out. To figure out, okay, we played too high. We can take away Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm saying? Now let's see how patient he is. Then they show he was coachable. Oh, I can be patient and take the underneath stuff, which prepared him for this season without Tyreek Hill, because I was already doing that. I was doing that towards the end of middle to the end of the season. I was already throwing these little short dump offs to McKinnon and CEH. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not worried about that. You know what I'm saying? He's evolved his game.
Mm-hmm.
And even you can see that in a bum ankle, he knows how to navigate the pocket. He's not some reckless gunslinger like they rejected him,
like Brett Favre, like they said he would be.
Brett Favre, Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was just reckless. He was just reckless. He had an arm, he was all that, but he was reckless. He just did not care. He just went out there and said, "I don't care. I'm gonna throw about 5 picks because I'm getting paid today, baby. I don't care."
But the hilarious part about this whole thing is that he's not even in his prime. We all know that he's not in his prime years.
No, he's not.
The kryptonite for him, and he openly admitted this after his first full season as the starter, was that he didn't understand how to read defenses, but he got better along the way. And over time, and even to this day now, it's like that was part of the challenge that he had as far as like last year, being able to read difference and having to make adjustments and stuff like that. It's making him better and better and better. So who's to say that he would not win 3, 4, 5? Who knows? Because now you add that element for him to be able to read defenses. It's going to be a problem.
And he's been talking to Tom Brady, so he's sharing some of that knowledge to him.
Yeah.
And for the record, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this language come from anymore. I don't want to hear nothing about Junior Brady. That is Mahomes is one of one.
Yeah, he's a totally different player.
Yeah.
Brady didn't.
Not doing that.
Brady didn't have 5 consecutive home. No, One of one. Mahomes only. I don't want to hear Brady Jr. You want to call him Mahomes Jr., fine. But don't call him no Brady Jr. I don't want to hear that.
I mean, technically, he's Mahomes Jr.
Yeah, Mahomes Jr. I'll give him, but Brady Jr. I will not.
Totally
that dude is
different
one of
quarterback. Yeah, Mahomes, like I said, I always compare him to. It's like when Steph Curry entered the league, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he completely changed the game, and that dude's one of one. You can't compare him to CP3. You can't compare him to Magic Johnson. Like they're two totally different players.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna say he ruined the league. He ruined it in the sense of people are trying to find people who can
That,
throw off
yeah,
platform like him and do the spectacular. But nobody can do the spectacular like him because the game is so slow for Mahomes that when he makes those moves, he does it with a purpose. Like, it's not just reckless abandonment, like he's throwing across his body. He actually just sees it. He's so ahead of the game that he sees his receiver getting open, so he'll throw it in that area. But he's not throwing it in that area recklessly, like trying to, oh, I'm just gonna throw it up. Somebody's gonna get it. Like, no, he sees the game, and so when they see a quarterback do a little bit of that, his draft stack is up. He's Mahomes
yep.
like, and it's like, nah, he's not.
That's the dangers of giving these comparisons to these college kids and even high school kids. Like, he could be Mahomes. No, just like no. The mechanics that he has, normally the different things that he does are the stuff that that coaches tell their quarterbacks not to do.
Exactly.
Not to throw off the wrong foot, not to throw against, not to throw across the field. But Montana alluded to this. So he said he does everything you're not supposed to do, but he does it so well with precision. And that's something that is not taught. The instincts and different things that he has.
You can't teach it.
He's literally about 3 seconds ahead as far as with defenses. It's crazy.
And that's why I said the game is so slow to him. Everything is moving so slow for him. For us, it's like woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
For him, it's like it's like
you
the
can
Matrix.
see Tony making that cut. You can see Travis Kelce hitting that zone.
It's like the Matrix out there. It's like, yeah.
But
it's like he hits the pause button, looks around real quick. Okay.
But part of that advantage too is like, and I wonder if this even happens. This is actually a pretty good interesting discussion, I would say, as far as that, because Kelce having a quarterback background himself, how they're able to kind of like feed off each other, and it's like see him to be able to see what he sees and do what he do. Like it's not every team can say that. It's like it's a very special combination. It's basically contributed to who and why they are the way they are now.
No, I agree. Travis Kelce is that which makes him so great is that he's able to read defenses. He's not just out there running routes just to be running it. No, he's so good at reading with the coverages in zone, especially in zone. When they're in zone, he knows where the holes are going to open up at. And a lot of people, when you look at him, it's like a lot of people like, he don't even look like he's moving that fast, but he is mentally moving so fast that the defensive back is like, whoa, like he ain't ready for it. That's why he'll do that chip and then he'll do that quick button route, and he's just wide open. Or he'll always do that move where he'll catch the ball and he acts like he's going this way and then he'll go the other way. So he's a step ahead of everybody else too on the defense too. So,
and I think he understands the less is more concept, because like you said, people always assume that speed, but sometimes that can actually be counterproductive, because like with the way he runs his routes and stuff like that, he understands where his other personnel is. And a lot of mistakes that you see is that you have other receivers, like they're trying to improvise as far as what the quarterback is doing, not realizing, hey, you got two receivers in the same area. You don't see that with Kelce, really. As far as with him, he has an idea to stay in specific areas, knowing as far as
where the zone is.
Exactly. It's not about just knowing what your assignment is, but knowing that everybody else's assignment is too. And that's what makes him so great.
And that's how he can get guys open.
And that's why Andy Reid's system is part of why it's so complicated, is because he wants his receivers to know where everybody is at. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want you just to know your
own route.
He wants you to know where Travis is going to be, where Kadarius Tony or Juju, whatever, where they're going to be running their routes at, so you could be and if you got to go, if somebody goes down, you could step in and run the same routes. That's why his system is so complicated. That's why Sky Moore, he may not get as much reps because he's learning
He's
literally
learning it as we
every
go.
position, as he's going. So that's why it's so hard for young rookies to get on the field, is they're learning so much. Now next year, hopefully he comes into next year and he's ready to go. He knows where he needs to be for the most part. I'm sure they add stuff every year, but I'm just saying, for the most part, he'll know, okay, I need to run this route and do this. And then you could play fast because now you can manipulate your routes a little bit more when you're playing against certain defenses. So that's why Travis is also great too, because he could just play.
Exactly. He's never really running one specific route. He doesn't even know what route he's really running until he gets to the line and he takes a look at that defense. He's like, okay,
And then
now I know what I'm going to do.
Then he'll go into motion and find his little crease he need to go to, and then boom, get over.
And it's like him and Mahomes have like antennas on the back of their head. They're like, send a single in. Okay, I'm doing this or that. But he always knows where he's going to be just because of that comfortability with him. And they're both, like you said, Mark, both quarterbacks. So Mahomes understands where Travis wants to be. Travis understands where Mahomes wants him to be. When you have that combination, it's deadly.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, speaking of Mahomes, where do you guys now before the ring? Where do you guys have him on the all-time list right now, as we're talking?
On the all-time list,
because we all saw Dan Orlowski's list. Some people were up in arms. He had Patrick Mahomes number 2 on his list.
I'm just confused how last week he had him as the second best quarterback, and then this week he's the second best quarterback of all time. I'm just confused. So where's Joe Burrow at on this list?
We ain't talking about that.
But I think I would have him third. I mean, obviously Tom's the GOAT right now, but I think I think that will change for me. So I would have Tom, probably second, probably Joe Montana, and then third Mahomes. So I have him over Peyton Manning.
What you got, Mark?
I got him at 4 or 5 right now, somewhere around there. My list right now, I got Brady obviously at 1, Montana at 2. Then you got Manning at 3, Elway at 4, and then Mahomes at 5. And you can flip flop. Even I would say Elway and Mahomes, you could probably flip flop for 4 or 5. You could say either way. As far as early success, nobody's had this kind of success early out the gate that Mahomes has had. But if he gets this one, he'll be at 3 easily.
Yep.
So then, if they get the job done, gets his ring, then it's going to be Brady, Montana, then Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree. I got Brady number 1. I got Montana number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Peyton number 3, Elway number 4, and then Mahomes number 5. But I agree with what Mark said. If he wins this ring, I'm jumping in my head. I can make an argument right now that he's better than Peyton because Peyton in the playoffs was not the same player as Peyton in the regular season. I'm talking about especially when he was with the Colts. When he was with the Colts, there was a lot of times Peyton Manning then would be the number 1 seed and they would get bounced in the divisional round because he would have bad games. He wouldn't be good. He would, when the pressure and the heat was on him in the playoffs, he wouldn't have great games. So I can make an argument.
In that last Super Bowl, did he really even win that Super Bowl, or was Von Miller win that game?
That was a Von Miller show. It was a Von Miller show.
Yeah, it was the defense that won that game. But I'm a pay respect to Peyton because one thing he did do is he changed the game and making it more cerebral with the audibles and all that stuff. Nobody was really doing that before he came in the game. He was pretty much the head coach. Like,
yeah,
on the field.
Yeah,
he was calling the plays at the line, and a lot of quarterbacks wasn't doing that coming into the game. So, and I think Tom kind of took that a little bit too later on into his career. He added that to his arsenal because he learned that from Peyton Manning. So, but and then John Elway, we all know John Elway athletically, he used to do some of certain things that Mahomes is doing. Of course, Mahomes does it on a whole nother level, but to be able to run, and throw the football down the field, Elway was one of the best at doing that. His problem is that he didn't always have he would always go against Joe Montana or one of them NFC juggernauts, and he would lose. So in the Super Bowl, so it would, and there'd be blowouts. It wouldn't even be close. So he didn't win his Super Bowls until he got Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis won a lot of those Super Bowls for him. And he, so definitely, but I'm gonna pay respect because they both have 2 rings. Pat only has. So did Cris leave Joe out? Did you not hear me, Negro? I said Joe Montana number 2.
He had the same list as I did.
Open your ears, brother. That's Clarence, by the way.
Clarence would have him number 1, I think.
You know how he feels about Joe Montana. I get it, brother. That's your guy. And I love Joe Montana too. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man. Tom Brady got 7 rings, brother.
The only reason why people would argue with Joe, I would say with that, because people always want to put question marks or asterisks on some of the championship rings as far as with New England. And, you have a right to do so. But bottom line,
I'm not mad at that argument. You can make that argument. Look, the Tuck rule, the Spygate, the Deflategate, what else? There's so many scandals. I mean, the first 3 years, was it really Brady or was it that defense invented Terry's leg? And then when he did have a superstar team, they didn't even get the job done. So, I mean, they lost to Eli Manning. So
twice.
Yeah.
That's the star. And that's the crazy part about it, though.
I get it. Yes, he threw 2 picks. I get it. Yes, he did. Montana was 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I get it. Like I said, hey man, if you want to put Joe at the top, I ain't gonna argue with you, brother.
Yeah, that's a crazy ratio though that Montana had, and that's part of the criticism that I think you could say about Mahomes. And I said maybe he need to get out of the state of Florida for these Super Bowls matches, probably because they bring up the numbers as far as with 2 and 4, 2 touchdowns, and he has 4 interceptions. Could that be different? Probably in this game. Could he change that?
It could be different if guys were catching balls in that Tampa game. I mean, he had like 3 touchdowns dropped.
1 right in the face mask.
Yeah, right in the face mask.
Yeah, Brady didn't even win that Super Bowl. The defense did. And not bum-ass offensive line at the time. We had plumbers and handymen, offensive line.
Allegretti and Wiley's the only one that remains that was on that line. He's the only one that's still around.
Jesus.
For dear life.
And he was the left tackle.
He was the left tackle, yeah.
Oh, my God.
But even so with Brady, though, he had all those different things that was going on. And in Atlanta, that's just one they just completely threw away. But, like I said, that was part of a Kyle Shanahan regime, which go figure happened with the Niners, a little bit later. That's a whole different discussion.
Gate.
So, people can talk about, that's a whole different conversation probably in the 49ers room. It's like, Shanahan's a great coach, but when it comes to the big ones.
Who? What'd you say?
Kyle Shanahan was I'm not denying he's a good coach, but when it comes to the big games and some of the decision making, he holds them back. Pat was early in his career, so Pat. So we're gonna waive him.
Yeah. I'm all for that, Clarence. I'm not gonna argue with that. That brother makes a good point with it.
Like I said, maybe he just need to get out of the state of Florida. Who knows? I mean, what was his numbers in Arizona earlier this year? Anybody?
They were
I don't
crazy.
know.
Crazy,
5
man.
touchdowns, no
did he-
interceptions,
Did he
400
throw for
yards.
but did he throw for 400? It was crazy out there. Eagles, are you ready for this?
In a tune-up game. And you know what? There's no way you could say to get ready. Say, could you say you're 100% ready for a Patrick Mahomes? There's no way. I don't care if you have a week, 2 weeks, or whatever. I mean, it's week to week. You never know. I mean, I've heard a week to week game time decision if a player's going to play. You're talking about a week to week of what is this man going to do? You don't know, because any given Sunday anybody can go off or have a big day. Or I mean,
he might throw a pass with his eyes closed.
I mean, come on now. I mean, I remember
behind the back, baby.
I remember when Tyreek Hill was out last year for a couple of games, and then Demarcus Robinson went off against the Raiders. Like I said, and with a bad leg. I think he had an injury on the ankle injury in that game too.
That's when he threw for 400 yards and like 4 or 5 touchdowns.
And he threw to Darrell Williams that long touchdown.
But you just don't know. I mean, any given Sunday, anybody can go off, and Mahomes, he can decide he want to run. Oh yeah, y'all right though. They put up 44 against the Cardinals. Yeah, he had.
They cooked the Cardinals. That was bad.
He went 30 for 39, 360 for 5 TDs.
It was a packed up session. It was smoking. Session.
Maybe getting out, like I said, maybe getting out of Florida is something that needs to happen.
No, I agree.
Just cancel Super Bowls in Florida and just put them all in Arizona, Vegas, California.
Put them out west.
Yeah, anywhere over there. Bradley Roby.
Wow.
Bradley Roby. He's still around?
Well, that's the more interesting statement I have is the J.C. Jackson. Granted, he got hurt. You know, they made all these moves preparing him for Tyreek Hill, but this is the same dude that got beat by Watson.
He got a double move by Justin Watson.
That's the more interesting thing. They were so focused on Tyreek Hill being there, and then the very thing that they worried about didn't even have to happen. And that's a real.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. All right, let me ask you guys a question. Now, this guy had a great season this year, and I believe that he's finally coming into his own as the best defensive tackle in this league. Now, if we win this Super Bowl, or when we win this Super Bowl. So.
He said when.
When? Sunday, the 12th.
Yes, sir.
9:30.
Will Chris Jones have an argument to start him being a Hall of Famer?
I certainly think so.
Now,
I mean,
we can look at the numbers. I pulled his numbers up. And so, hold on. Let me move this out the way.
I think, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so his first 2 seasons, you know, he was trying to, but then he go 15 and a half sacks, 9 sacks, 7.5 sacks, 9 sacks, 15 and a half sacks, which he got 65 total sacks. For a defensive tackle, that's great. So, what would Chris Jones have to do after this run? What would he have to continue? Would he have to have 2 more seasons of double-digit sacks?
I don't think so. I think 2 more seasons of like 7 to 10 sacks probably does it. I mean, when you win 2 Super Bowls, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I wouldn't say he was before Sunday, just because there was that narrative of him getting no sacks in the playoffs, which I know probably would have been brought up. But yeah, I think he's a Hall of Famer after this game Sunday.
Here's an argument. Here's a different perspective I want to look at it. Justin Houston, would you say he's a Hall of Famer?
No, because of injuries.
Because of injuries, stuff like that. Because you saw he had 1 year, like I think it was like his first year or second year, where he jumped out and had that ridiculous sack number.
20 sacks, I think it was.
And was never the same.
Yeah.
And never even got close to what Jones is doing. Not even close. But how Jones has been able to impact not just on his own, but others around him as well. There's other notes that probably that stats won't even really tell you. Do I think he needs to put up at least another 2 years of it? Probably not. Maybe just one more.
Yeah.
But for him to have, let's see, on his resume, he would have 2 Super Bowl rings. He would have the keys. I would say so.
Yeah.
Maybe he may not even have to. He may not even have to have another season. Now I think about it, he may not have to. He may have already solidified it by even having the performance that he had this last game.
Here's a different perspective to look at it for the pushback side. Because this is probably his first season where he's considered the best. Everybody knew Aaron Donald was the standard.
Yep.
Chris Jones was probably worldwide considered the second best defensive tackle because he was the only other defensive tackle that was getting sacks. Like Aaron
Like
Donald
that.
was out here getting, like that. Like Aaron Donald was out here getting like close to 20-something sacks. Like, and Chris would get his, respectable sacks. Now, injuries have derailed some of his seasons too. He's had a couple of times he had a hand injury or groin injury, so he'd have to sit out. So if he gets a ring, he could be in the conversation. But I do want to see. I would say he would, now that he would be considered the best, another season of him getting double-digit sacks. Now, he don't have to get 15.5 sacks, but getting double-digit sacks, him being worldwide considered the best, I think that would solidify him being a Hall of Famer. So next year, if he were to get 11 sacks or 12 sacks, I think that would solidify him getting that gold jacket and going to Canton. So,
yeah, I mean, and part of that too. Also, I think what might have been motivating because really, like a lot of conversation actually had shifted over to the defensive tackles up there. I think it was Quentin Williams up there up in New York, and he started to get a lot of attention because don't get me wrong, the Jets defense, they come along, they look great. They just had a bad opposite side of the ball. That's not even our business to talk about. But I think part of that contributed to when you started to hear some of that noise coming from up north and they look, Chris Jones, I think that part of that sparked him too. It's like you have that combination plus what happened last year. It was a no, not again, not this time situation.
Yep.
And he's done him and he's rightfully earned.
Yeah,
I don't know what his number is going to look like as far as they get at the end of the day when they give him his contract, but he definitely earned it.
He's earned it. And I know he's not going to get it, but I could make an argument that he was the defensive player of the year.
I could too.
I know everybody wants to look at Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa has some guys around him. Like we're not calling that
Fred Warner.
Yeah, we're not calling that the best defense in the league for no reason. It's because on every level they got somebody.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Even on that defensive line, Armstead, all them, that defensive line is loaded. It ain't just Nick Bosa over there, So it's hard to just double team Nick Bosa, or you can double team Nick Bosa, and there's another guy that's going to be breathing down your neck. So Chris Jones, he is the end all be all, especially in the regular season, because Frank Clark don't show up to playoffs. So, I mean, it's the truth. He don't show up into the playoffs.
Well, even so, he didn't necessarily have to. And you know what? We talked about this defense, and you know what? This could be a spark of conversation for the Chiefs and everything. Because nobody's really talking about their defense. Like, well, their defense has got a little bit better. No, nobody want to hear that crap talking about they got a little bit better. They want to hear that they're the real deal. But Chiefs could be very much on their way. And it's like if they can figure out how to stop the run and to really lock down this Eagles, I don't know what that magic number is. I'm not saying that they're only going to give up 10 points to the Eagles. And if they do, then you might be able to start making a conversation that, hey, this Chiefs defense along with a great offense is a big problem, because the reality of it is, especially with any Kansas City Chiefs teams, they really only have one side of the ball that's successful. I mean, you have the other side that will do just enough to make sure you got the job done. But if you have a number one offense and a number one defense, good luck.
Yeah, or even just a top 10 defense.
The Niners were well on their way because they had finally started to figure it out, and actually it took them after the Chiefs lost and after they had their started making them acquisitions. They were starting to look like a team that was in full form, where they were the top defense and offense. But unfortunately, injury caught up with them. But the Chiefs can figure it out
because the Niners defense is better, than the Eagles defense. The Eagles defensive line is their bread and butter in the corners. Big Clay Slay and Bradbury, they're really good. But their defensive line is their bread and butter. Whereas in the 49ers, their front seven
Yeah.
is their bread and butter. They got, the I don't know how to say his name, Palomalu Jr. over there. They got him roaming around.
Ufunga?
Yeah. They got him roaming around hitting people. Travaris Ward is a good corner. Say what you want about Travaris Ward, but he is a good corner. He had a really good season with the 49ers. But their front seven is better than the Eagles' front seven.
Yeah.
Because what makes the Eagles' front four so good is just they have a good heavy rotation. You got Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Hargrove, Jordan Davis, Linval Joseph,
Graham.
Robert Quinn. They got a whole rotation so they don't get tired because they're just constantly rotating that in. And the key to this game is, and Clarence is gonna love this, is we gotta have success running the football to keep those guys tired. We gotta run them out of all of that. If we can get success in at least, I'm not saying Pop gotta have 144 yards and all that. No, but if we can get success on first and second down running the football and get into easy 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s against this Eagles front four. Because these linebackers to me are not, they're average to me. That's just my opinion. I don't think they're the greatest linebackers out here,
Well, I think it's going to be a combination, but it's like I said at the very beginning of the show, though. There's a reason why. I mean, you can fill up roster spots as far as with different key players, but there it's not by accident Clyde had 100 yards against them last time in their last showing. Granted, whatever the Philadelphia defense, their situation looked like, and I think it was in the middle of the year anyway, or something like that, middle or toward the beginning. So they were still trying to figure it out, and then the Eagles started to catch a little bit of a spark later on that season. But like I said, as we continue to play this chess match, as far as who's in, who's out, what they're going to be doing schematically, all that stuff. And even so with the 49ers and stuff like that, I actually respected the 49ers a little bit more than the Eagles, mainly because of their schedule as far as they were prepared them. I look at these schedules as who is the better team that's prepared for this moment and stuff, regardless of stats and whatever, and who did what. You look at the Niners schedule and who they played. They played up against the teams like the Chargers. You saw how they played, how they handled against a fast team like the Dolphins. You saw how they handled even with Seattle, you can kind of throw in that conversation. You kind of look at those games as far as what prepared them. Obviously, as far as with the Eagles, that 49ers game was a wash mainly because of the injury. You can only run the ball. You can only do. You can say that the Eagles had a fast track, having to deal with the Giants, who really nobody really had much of an expectation, and then having to play with a team that was one-sided for pretty much 3/4 of the game. What could you do versus a Chiefs team who's basically had to earn every single inch from the jump, from when the schedule was released to who they had to play, to having to deal with injuries, all of that.
And at the end of the day, man, they haven't dealt with a Mahomes. No, and not even somebody who's in the
even close.
Close. They haven't dealt with a Joe Burrows. They haven't dealt with a Josh Allen. They had to deal with Jared Goff.
Did they even play Trevor Lawrence? Did they play Trevor Lawrence this year?
Yeah,
that might be the best quarterback they played
for the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles played them this year. I think they destroyed
Goff or Dak. That's really what they.
Yeah.
But and it's you're talking about that, but then like I said, even on the Chiefs side, it's not even that. You can even go back and flip around to the secondary side. I had told y'all at this point that I had saw that was very interesting as far as the secondary, the teams that they have faced. The Chiefs had played 7 top 10 as far as when it came to receiving cores. You're talking about the Chargers receiving core. You're talking about the Cincinnati receiving core. You're talking about the Buffalo, the Raiders. They faced seven of them. The tallest task that the Eagles had was the Vikings on Monday Night Football, in which we all know how well Kirk Cousins does on a on a primetime game.
And
But
the Chiefs played the Seahawks, who had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And I would compare the Eagles receiving core to that, because you could say Devontae Smith's close to Lockett, and then AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. So
Lockett didn't play that game though, but I hear what you're
that's
saying.
right.
But I hear what you're saying, John.
But the rookies were well prepared, though. That's why I said, these. And then the other stat that was thrown out there, I forgot which one of y'all threw it out there, that with McDuffie, the McDuffie factor. I mean, this team don't give up nothing. They don't give up north of 300 yards when he's in the game. And that's partly because the rookie adjustments and stuff like that and how they be able to work. The Indy game,
they were terrible. They should have lost it to Indy, but
Jeff Saturday gave that game away.
I'll tell you what about the Indy game though, because I was kind of looking at that game to see what could have possibly gone wrong and try to defend the Eagles' case. And the week before that was when they actually lost to the Washington football team. I forgot they got a name. My bad, Washington. The Washington Commanders. They lost to the Commanders on a game which nobody believed was happening. And then that was the same week that they had lost Dallas Goedert too.
Yeah.
So them having to make adjustments and stuff like that, and also having to be on the road, which I'm saying is no easy thing. But like you said, we're talking about the coach who've been blowing games all year long, not having an identity of who they are. The coach, I mean, the owner don't even have an identity. We don't know. That's how bad it is. They talking about possibly rehiring. I'm like, go ahead, rehire him. Go ahead. We'll see how much of a laughing stock you are then. But
they're taking for Caleb Williams that they hired Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
Do they have a choice? Just don't screw up like the Texans did and blow it.
Yeah, for real. But the one thing that gives me optimism about this game is that, and look, AJ Brown is a dog. Devontae Smith is very talented. I'm not taking nothing away from them brothers. I think they're really. AJ Brown is probably a top 5 wide receiver right now. We're not going to do that. But do I think that the matchup of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase was a little way more daunting than this one?
And you keep it though, Tyler Boyd, because he
Tyler
played
Boyd,
3/4 of that game.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd. So like we stood up with rookies against that. You know what I'm saying? You add L'Jarius, hopefully we get L'Jarius Sneed back, of course. But if you give me L'Jarius Sneed following AJ Brown for the most part, and you give me Trent McDuffie on Devontae Smith, and then because who's their third best receiver? Quez Watkins.
Watkins.
He's not really a good. He can't catch the football. He's fast as hell, but he can't catch. He can't.
But a big part of it though is that the coaching schemes, that this is where it's really going to come into play and how it's utilized. I mean, you can kind of go back and even look at it. Granted, Belichick is a defensive minded coach and everything, and everybody was expecting the Rams to go up and down, stuff like that. But it wasn't a game where it was more so just the personnel, but the fact that McVay just simply got out coached.
Yeah, he did.
That's exactly. You could have one of these cases again this year to where the veteran coach gets the best of them.
And that's my point in this game. That's what another part of this. My optimism in this game is that because everybody talks about, if you talk about talent for talent, whose roster is more talented? Yeah, the Eagles have more talent on their side. They do. But this league is about coaching and about quarterback. And about defense. You got to have studs on both sides of the ball. And I just think that with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that matchup cannot be overlooked. This Eagle defense can make a name for themselves, but they've never seen this before.
Nope.
They
haven't seen Travis Kelce.
No, they haven't. They haven't seen this all season. Exactly. And that's the thing. That's another key to this game is that we have to be stout against the run. Not just Miles Sanders, but Scott
Gainwell.
and Gainwell.
It's going to be a lot of option I would expect that a lot of
Read option.
read options, and even so you're talking about a quarterback that likes to get outside the numbers and throw too. That's where containment is going to come to play. And I think they've had some practice like dealing with quarterback that like to scramble. You're not talking about somebody that has the size of a Josh Allen at all, because like basically you put one good hit on him, it's a good chance. But I mean, we're talking about Kelsey on the other side of the ball. He's a good center for them. He's like, here's a reason why he's all pro on that side too. He's like, he knows how to hold his own. That's going to be a challenge as far as who's going to take on that assignment, whether it be Saunders or whether they're going to. And I think Chris Jones is going to be more so dealing with the guards more than anything and how they adjust with that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good chess match on the line. It's like, I mean, every game is basically, I would say, about 70-80% of the game is going to be dictated what happens in the trenches. But it's gonna be big. Whoever makes the best adjustments is gonna win the game.
Both of these offensive lines are gonna get tested. Bottom line.
Especially the Chiefs, because the first thing I said when I saw that matchup, I said, well, this is the test of the old line. It's like for them making that investment.
Well, as long as Andy Reid don't do what Kyle Shanahan did and let Hassan Reddick be blocked by a damn tight end.
That ain't happening. We saw what Andy did, his game plan against the 49ers. There was a lot of times he didn't even block Nick Bosa.
He just ran right past him.
Yep, exactly.
He just ran right past him.
We're going to see that happening again this week.
But Orlando Brown knows that he finally fixed his issue at the last game. But it's like, I mean, that's going to be a question mark, though. It's because, him, he want to get paid, and, people are still on the fence about him and what he going to do, and should we keep him? That's going to be that's the biggest question mark, I would say.
Now my fear is Carl Sheffers. That's my fear right there.
Yeah.
That is my fear that L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie and them going to have good coverage.
They're going to be getting called for holds.
The phantom flags.
Yeah. Well, last time the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, it was Carl Schefter's, and in the first half, there was 10 penalties for like 75 yards or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was ridiculous.
But in that game though, that I would say this though, it's like about that that first Super Bowl, is that even with the Niners, they pretty much were controlling the game for the most part of it. But then the Chiefs that did just enough to stay in it. And then they executed and made the big plays when they need to. But then, but part of that coaching too is like, I always believe that Super Bowls, a whole scheme or a whole game could be changed off of one play. I mean, you could talk about Philadelphia and how they played the Patriots, how the Philly special, or Philly field, whatever the heck they want to call it. That was a big turnover as far as how that game. Well, technically that play should have been illegal. Because technically in that play, they didn't have enough men on the line. It was actually explained. I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. And they let it fly. I said, welcome to the Super Bowl where stuff don't get called. But to the Chiefs, though, in that first year specifically, the Wasp play was the one that shifted everything.
Right.
It gave them a whole different look. So,
the thing about that Wasp play was that they ran that against the Patriots, but they had ran it differently. When they ran it, instead of Tyreek cutting back, he just kept going, and it caught him off guard. So they put it on tape. So this time when they placed the 49ers, Tyreek ran that same route, and so the safety thought the safety thought he was going to keep going, and when he cut, he was out of position, and that's why he was so wide open
by himself. Yep.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Damian Williams was.
Yeah,
he was huge that whole
the playoff run.
He was huge the whole playoff run.
And the fact that he's on another team, though, I'm like, that's what's crazy about it. I mean, I get it. You want to move on and stuff like that for obviously cap reasons. You were hoping Darrell Williams or Clyde at the time. It was like,
well, what hurt Damian Williams was it was COVID season and he sat out. And then plus his mom was dealing with cancer, so he wanted to be home with her, which is nothing wrong with that.
No,
but I'm just saying it hurt him. And then then the following season, then we had drafted Clyde, so we knew Damian Williams was out. He was gone. So
then he went to Chicago, and then I saw him like doing a stint in Atlanta. I'm like, tough break.
So But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting matchups, man, all across. I want them to get McKinnon back involved, man. He hasn't really been involved with the passing game like he was in the regular
In the
season.
regular, yeah.
Like I want to see them. The screen game is going to be very instrumental in this game, you know, because that pass rush they're going to rev it up. They're gonna come after Mahomes, and they're going to test these tackles, Orlando Brown and what's your name? Um, you know who I'm talking about. Andrew Wiley. They're going to get tested, you know, and you know Hassan Reddick. He's probably going to be on Wiley's side. Josh Sweat is probably going to be on what's the name side. So, and they're going to do a heavy rotation. These guys, Robert Quinn, going to be out there. Like they're going to send guys everywhere. So this offensive line, especially interior, is going to have to be on point. So that's where this game is going to be won at, the trenches. And whoever trenches can hold up better, that's going to be the team to win the game. So. All right, so Ty brought this to my attention before the show. I didn't even know this was a damn thing. I'm kind of glad.
Clarence would be lighting this up.
So on Twitter, people are tripping about the Tyreek Hill trade. So supposedly, there was an article out. I ain't got time to read that article, but from the gist of the article is that the Chiefs could have got the 10th overall pick from the Jets
for Tyreek
Hill. And Chiefs fans are up in arms. I repeat, Chiefs fans are up in arms because we didn't take that pick instead of all the picks that Brett Veach picked. So let me get this straight. We in the damn Super Bowl, people. And you're mad because we didn't take Jameson Williams, who didn't play this season. You really think that Jameson Williams was going to play for us? Andy Reid, who doesn't like rookie receivers? Like you had to be Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, you got to be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, you got to be that for him to play. But other than that, you ain't getting no run. And he's coming off an ACL tear.
And we need a defense, we didn't need a receiver there.
Then somebody was like, "Oh, we could have got Charles Cross, and they moved him to left tackle this year, and got rid of Orlando Brown." You guys are mad because we didn't get Charles Cross. Charles Cross. Y'all act like Charles Cross. It's like the best. He's just killing it this year.
He's just the best tackle in the league.
Yeah, still.
It's Super Bowl week.
People
all right, so it ain't circumcised. Golly. But yeah, it's I don't get y'all sometimes, man. Y'all just complain about anything. We made it to the Super Bowl, y'all, and it's because of those pieces.
And we wouldn't have Trent McDuffie if it went the other way. Buffalo would have him. So
let me make this simple and plain. All right, let's just put this in perspective as far as like coming off the draft. Like as far as even with last year's AFC title game, Tyreek Hill to close out that AFC championship game last year finished with 78 and 1. 7 catches, 78 yards, one touchdown, and didn't have a catch in the second half. Let's put this in perspective of as far as with the trade and everything they're able to do. Trent McDuffie had 6 tackles, 2 passes defended. George Karlaftis had a sack with a 1 tackle for a loss. Josh Williams had 5 tackles and one pass deflected, which resulted in an INT. Why are we arguing? That's the result of the trade. Oh, and I didn't even mention MBS. My bad. 6 for 116, and I think it was 2. Why are we debating that? Help me make that make sense. Oh, we should have got a 10, and not to mention they don't even include all the picks that for next year. What mathematical unknown planet are you from to preach this logic talking about they should have got 10 and did this, when that's pretty much the results of those 4 stars performing over what Tyreek
Exactly.
Hill did and come up with a
Yep.
winning result.
Exactly.
Replay this segment of what I just said, and if it still don't make sense to you, go find another team
Exactly.
or go take up lacrosse or water polo or something else that you can
Soccer.
butcher, because that makes no sense at all.
None.
Those
No,
are the
I
numbers.
I agree 1000% with everything he just said.
Those are the numbers.
Y'all terrible, man. I don't get y'all Chiefs Kingdom. I really don't, man. Y'all just
That was the exchange for Tyreek Hill, and you got draft picks.
If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl next Sunday, I do not want to see these fans celebrating. They should be sulking over the fact that Charles Cross was not on the roster.
I need.
did he go to Seattle?
Yeah, I think so.
They just need to watch the early NBA games and just don't even watch. They shouldn't even be allowed. Don't even cut their service on at their home to watch the Super Bowl. Just let them get the result and let them watch on social media. Saying that
Well,
ridiculous.
watch the little clips.
Yeah. Y'all sent me that foolishness this morning or whatever day it was. I'm like, who argued that and like this stuff and try to that made no sense. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up.
It's the same guy that bitched about Nick Bolton all year. The same people.
And Nick Bolton.
I'm not mentioning these people on my damn podcast.
And Bolton only finished second in tackles and probably could have been first if they were playing games at the same time.
Yep. Charles Cross from.
Oh, what up, Stan?
We ain't getting that news. Shut up.
He said just playing. Hey, I'm happy with who we got because who we got us to where we are. Like, you wouldn't be here without Jalen Watson, right? I mean, he had that big interception. Jalen Watson is yet to play a playoff game where he doesn't have an interception.
Does he have like 2 or 3? I think he has 3, doesn't he? Late?
Yep. 3.
With a bad hand.
And a pick 6, 98 yards.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, but like I said, but like we've been saying, those like if they don't have that schedule in the beginning, this probably doesn't happen.
Right.
It probably doesn't.
Agree. It was that test because we played Cincinnati, we played Buffalo, they played. You ran off the schedule. I know it was today a couple times, but that schedule was crazy. When you looked at it before the season, it was tough.
8 against previous opponents.
Yeah.
3 straight on the road. What more could you? And then you basically had to play one extra game because the 2 and the 3 didn't play against each other.
Yep.
What more could you possibly ask for? If that ain't adversity, then I don't know what this is. Well, it was handed to them. Show me on the schedule where it was handed to them.
Yeah. Because we were in people that still go about the seeding thing. We were in position to get that 1 seed, right? So if the Bengals won that game, we would have been the 1 seed. We were not gifted the 1 seed by any means.
You ain't even got to say that. You ain't even got to say that.
In position.
You ain't got to say that much. I mean, let's make it simple. Bills, don't lose to Miami. Don't lose to the Jets. Yep. Don't blow it at home against the Bengals.
Cincinnati don't get blown out by Cleveland on a Monday night.
On Monday night on Halloween.
Yep.
I mean, you can say whatever you want to, but it's like bottom line is that teams had to earn it. I mean, you can even with the other side of the Eagles, you can say how soft their schedule was. Bottom line is they earned it. They did what they had to do. But
they beat who was in front of them and got there.
Roseman didn't have to make the acquisitions. They did what they needed to do to win, and they took advantage of it. Will it be the same result next year? That's a whole different story. But, the bottom line is that they made it to Sunday, February 12th. That's the bottom line. Don't matter about how you did it or what way you did it. You're there. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
But the Chiefs, though, you couldn't ask for a harder schedule. You could not.
And then they go through Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow in the playoffs Trevor Lawrence is balling. I mean, what's called like his next year he'll probably be top. He could be regarded as a top 5 quarterback in the league. And when we look back at this Super Bowl run, we're gonna say they went through Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, 2 top 5 quarterbacks. Now, Trevor Lawrence, obviously not at the time, but still.
But in bottom line, this is the proof of why I've said what I said. As far as like, I was not worried about 3-point losses against Buffalo and the Bengals. I said those are good losses. I said I'm good with those by all means. You know,
Especially that Bills game early in the season.
We're talking about the injuries, stuff like that, and some of the different things. But I said, but even so, you know, not every team shows everything that they're going to do in the regular season.
And they didn't, because they confused the shit out of Burrow.
Yeah. They did, yeah.
You can't predict offensive line going out, but you can adjust it as far as like making adjustments. You tell me Mahomes didn't have to make adjustments with a bad leg?
Mm-hmm.
He definitely did.
That's what I said. They confused because in the regular season matchup,
they was doing all too high safety all day,
and it was just the middle of the field was open. This matchup, it was like he had to hold that ball a little bit longer because that middle of the field was muggied up. He couldn't get it off like he wanted to. So,
but part of that though is like you can't compare from last year to this year is like the whole Tyreek Hill effect. Like when they were dropping 8 in coverage, we got 2, maybe even 3 over there.
They
so it's like,
do
we know
that.
they're not going to, and we know you're not going to run the ball. That's basically what Cincinnati figured out. And then this year they made that adjustment, and Mahomes off of one leg, which is probably the biggest denominator. I mean, among everything, regardless of Tyreek Hill's status.
Let's call this game for it. This game should have been ugly. It should have got out of hand early. We should have been up 21-6 at the half.
Yeah. The mismanaged time at the end of the game or the end of the half where they had a punt and then the fumble miscued by Mahomes.
The fumble, we still would have, if we had scored, they would have been up by 2 scores. Right?
It'll been 10-14.
It'd have been ugly. It got ugly. So, all right, fellas. So we got a new addition to the AFC West. Broncos country got a new coach, man. Sean Payton.
He's there for the check.
He's there for the check, baby. He's getting paid to coach.
5 years.
He's going to be coaching Mr. Unlimited and trying to unlock that unlimitedness. So, how you guys feeling about this new addition to the AFC West?
I give Russell Wilson till week 6 or 8, realistically.
Yep.
Because that's a lot of money to be tied in, and you really, I mean, you have pieces, you know, as far as like Sutton, and then when they get their running back in play, I mean, the Denver's defense was already set. It's like that wasn't the problem. Clearly,
they got rid of their coordinator.
Yeah, Evero.
Yeah.
Well, they said Peyton had already put together a crew as far as like what he wanted prior to his interviews.
Well, they were supposed to get Vic Fangio, but he went
to Miami.
Miami. Yeah, that makes sense because then also he already got a relationship there with Chubb and stuff like that anyway, so that's gonna benefit them.
Yep.
So Denver gave up a first round.
Wait, they gave up a first round pick.
Yeah,
because of the exchange. Because what's his name retired early. They had to get it up to the Saints
for Sean Payton.
What?
The Denver Broncos. They're tripping.
The trade that they got with Miami for Bradley Chubb, they traded that pick, and they traded a second round in 2024, a third round pick in 2024, and then they got the rights.
They got fleeced.
They really did.
They got fleeced. That's terrible. That's for a coach.
I don't know.
That's for a coach.
Like
that's what they think of him, man. They think Sean Payton is he's a very good coach, but
I don't know that's up there with the fleece of the week with the Kyrie Irving trade in my opinion.
Yeah. That trade was bad.
No, that trade was nasty. Right? You hate the Lakers that much, you won't get 2 first round picks.
That was on Sasai. They didn't want him to go to LA. They wanted
so you take the 2 second rounders and Whitley and whoever else.
I mean, I don't know how they graded one a D and one a B. I saw 2 Fs because neither one of them fixed their problem. I said Jersey is basically still a walking doormat when it comes to defense. And then
KD will be gone by before the trade.
Yeah, he'll be.
Yeah, he's going across the borough.
He'll be in Phoenix.
The MSG. Probably. He's going to Queens.
Well, you think you went to the Knicks? He ain't going to the Knicks.
He'll screw
He's
that
going
up.
to Queens.
He's going to
Screw that
Boston
up.
for Jalen Brown.
He'll screw that up. But back to Denver though.
You know what? Let's not talk about these. Clarence might be mad right now.
Denver, I don't know. I mean, that's what I'll say. I mean, the bottom line, I'm looking at somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks with Russell Wilson.
I think what they're trying to see is if can Sean Payton do what he did with Drew Brees. That's what they're trying to see. Because
I mean,
that's
he's the guy for the job.
Because Russell Wilson is in the mode of a Drew Brees. He can run a little bit more than Drew Brees, but the short stature quarterback, he can tailor-made that offense for Russell Wilson to flourish. And I will say this about Russell Wilson: when they got rid of Nathan Nathaniel Hackett, he was playing. He played a lot better. He did play a lot better. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, he's just that terrible. I just think that they was just way over their head. I think that now what Sean Payton needs to do is when he gets there, he needs to sit down with Russell Wilson and be like, yo.
And hold him accountable.
Cut that bullshit out with the Broncos country ride and Mr. Unlimited, all that bullshit. We ain't doing none of that.
Dangerous.
All that.
Let's ride.
First of all, we're going to take this damn office away from your ass because you don't deserve it. You ain't do nothing to deserve this damn office.
They never had offensive line, so
you need to go in there with your teammates and be a part of the team. Stop separating yourself. That's why your offensive line wouldn't pick your ass up when you was getting sacked.
That's important to O lines. I mean, you saw as far as the quarterback play, I think probably he was under fire. And he was under the most fire after Zach Wilson. Bottom line, it's like those two were under the most fire. Period. But Russell Wilson, for him to get the contract that he has, and for them to be that underwhelming, I mean, that's a crazy stat. This defense did everything they were supposed to do. All they had to do was average like 19 points, and that team would have won 13 games. That's absolutely insane.
They didn't have to sign him to that contract. That's the crazy part.
But what's crazy about was that Denver, didn't they beat this 49ers team this year?
Yeah, they did by 1 point.
That makes no sense.
Well, that was like a baseball score game. It was like 10-9 or something like that.
When you heard the crazy stat, if they would have averaged 18 points a game, they would have been like 11, 12 wins.
Yep.
They would have went to the playoffs, Mark.
But I think Denver's digging their hole even deeper. You give up. So you trade Bradley Chubb. Essentially, now you traded him for Sean Payton because all the picks you got in that are now gone. You're digging your hole even deeper because what if Russ isn't it? Okay, even with Sean Payton. And I hate to say this, but we haven't really seen what Sean Payton can do without Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is an all-time great QB.
Yeah, the Chargers learned from that mistake, and they let him go, and let Schottenheimer go, and then a couple of years later, there you go.
But they had Philly ribs.
Sean Payton, no, I expect him to make. I mean, I expect him to have more than 6 wins they had this year. I expect him to have more than that.
Yeah. Also, how y'all feel about Kellen Moore to the Chargers?
Yeah, who cares? They'll find a way to screw it up. They're the Chargers. I think they fixed part of their issue, but until Staley can prove me otherwise, I'm not a believer in it by any means.
I agree.
Yeah,
And the Raiders is out here pandering to Aaron Rodgers. He's going to use that all offseason to, stay in the headlines.
All right, so they might have an offense but still have no defense.
Exactly. And McDaniel still sucks.
He's terrible.
You already know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers, so I ain't gonna rant on about that. I'm not denying the skill set as far as the receiving core they have, and hopefully they do get smart and they re-sign Jacobs.
No, hopefully they don't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for their sake. Like if I'm feeling bad for them, if they resign them, it's smart. If they don't, they just need to move to a whole nother city.
I don't. I love walking around here seeing these Raider fans in despair and hurt and pain. It does me joy every day to go to work and see some of these Raider fans walk up to me and try to tell me that my Chiefs is this and my how dare you talk to me like that, sir? The audacity, the litigated gall, the temerity.
Well, the Raiders are pretty much like if you had a top 10 list of things or people, whatever that are on that list for things to happen or who would affect, the Chiefs would have won the Super Bowl. The Raiders should be up there at like number 2 or number 3 because guess what? The Chiefs would have the same number of titles as you guys.
I just want to walk up to Raider fans and like Raider Nation, acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
They made that mistake by becoming a fan in the first place.
Yeah,
exactly.
They moved out here. You're gonna be a Chiefs fan? I said, first of all, that's blasphemous to be a Chiefs fan and a Raiders fan. That's almost as bad as the dude that used to work. That's almost as bad as the dude that told me he was a Giants and a Patriots fan.
What?
Yeah, they asked me, "You gonna cheer for the Raiders?" Excuse me? No. They came out here to Vegas.
I'll watch that. The closest thing to a Raider that I'll be a fan of is that movie of the what's that? The Temple of Doom. That's probably the closest thing of a fan of a Raider I'll be if I watch that movie. That's about it. The Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's probably it.
Is the Red Raiders for Mahomes, but that's it.
The only Vegas football team I'm cheering for is the Vegas Vipers XFL, baby. Woo! Let's go.
I can't because Charles Woodson used to be a.
You're right.
Rod Woodson. My bad. He's stealing.
You're right. Damn, man, I can't.
You gotta go for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Oh man, you're right, man. Damn,
I can't.
You right.
St. Louis.
Damn, now I gotta vote against them, man. I like their colors too. They're red and black, man. It kind of splashes off,
Well, that's a Vegas thing. That's the Vegas thing now. They doing that because they try to make everything red and black because the Aces are red and black. I mean,
hey, the Aces are loaded, dude. They got Candace Parker. God damn, what are they doing?
They got Becky Hammonds over there coaching. They're going for a dynasty.
They're trying to go undefeated. They're trying to go undefeated.
Am I wrong for not gone to one of their games yet? Am I wrong? I've never been to one. Everybody told me I should go. I said maybe I'll go.
You should go, man. Support our women, man. What are you doing out here?
I went to a Vegas hockey game because the game was free. Somebody bought the tickets. It was a playoff game. I was like, yeah, I'll go.
But doesn't Mark Davis own the Aces? Does he?
He do. He does.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know. You can't buy no tickets now.
Oh man, you're right. Damn, man. Damn, Ty, you didn't make it to where I can't like nothing, man.
I think it's between him and that haircut. I hate his haircut with a passion. All it remind me of is just that's the Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's like they put a bowl on his head and they was like, okay, we go cut around. All right, you're good.
All he needs is a bright orange suit. That's all. And I'm like, I can't do it.
Anybody with a haircut like that should not be making the decisions he's making.
I'm convinced. I've learned that anybody with that haircut, they're a billionaire. So I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm convinced. But even so, I don't even know how we got to this point. But the AFC West, so that whole thing, it's there's always gonna be a shakeup, especially with the extended cap room. That was the thing. I said, oh, y'all doing everything y'all can to pretty much knock out the top team. Y'all gonna give us a couple of extra dollars? I'm like, okay, with picks. He must have froze. He been stuck.
I think he's in the Matrix.
I said they're gonna give the Chiefs. They're gonna enlarge the cap room by that mean. I'm like, okay, fine by
Brett
me.
Veach, he's gonna do his thing this off season.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. And the thing is, the way everything's structured out, Mahomes' contract, the cap hit going down, obviously throughout the next couple of years, the 12 draft picks they got in this upcoming draft. Where I'm gonna be honest, I don't see him picking 12 players in this draft. I'm starting to think there's gonna be a move up.
Yeah, of course. They're gonna move some picks around.
It's gonna be Jordan Addison in there.
Yeah, baby. Woo!
Jackson Smith.
Zay Flowers, baby. Let's go. Woo!
It's gonna be that, or it's gonna be that. There's gonna be a trade for another veteran. I can see that though.
Because they
because
dropped the tackle.
because one thing about the Chiefs though, they've always
DeAndre
had
Hopkins.
the Chiefs have always had a notable veteran on every single team, whether it was a win or a loss of some sort. The first year it was bringing in Terrell Suggs.
Yeah,
The second year it was bringing in
Shady McCoy, right?
Fumbles
think.
McCoy.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then last year it was bringing in another edge rusher. They didn't get to where they wanted to go to, but it still made a difference.
Melvin
yeah,
Ingram.
Melvin
he made a
Ingram.
huge difference when that trade happened.
Mhm.
I mean, this year, who did they? I mean, they
Dunlap.
did. Yeah, there you go.
Honestly.
Dunlap. That's you can make that argument, and then also for Chris Jones to be able to step up into that role as far as
Exactly.
being that guy.
Hey, speaking of Dunlap, hasn't gotten enough props
No, he
for
doesn't.
that last Chris Jones sack. He was the reason why that sack was set up because he jumped in the air and Barrows couldn't throw the ball like he wanted to. And once he did that, once he tried to tuck it in, Chris Jones was right in his lap.
It's that's just been the story for the Chiefs defense, really, like basically all year long. It's like even with Mike Dan, he don't get enough credit for what he does either,
Mike
No.
Dana has been bought. I wouldn't mind bringing back Mike Dana.
as he should.
I think we should bring him back.
As-
I think so too.
He's been really, really good, man.
And even so, you saw sparks of it last year. I'm like,
You did.
if you could
But
see a
then-
little bit,
But
you
this
see a little
year,
bit more.
yeah, this year I think he's even improved from last year. You know, being able to get pressure from the inside, get pressure on the outside, you can move him around.
You can move him around. Yeah.
Like he's been really, really good. He's really good against the run too. So those are the type of pieces that you want to bring those guys.
And he
back.
makes his money against the AFC West QBs because
yeah.
that's where I think he got all the sacks this year.
Yeah, for real. But because we was missing him when he got hurt. When he got hurt, we was missing him on that defensive line. Now that he's healthy and back, I think he's been a very underrated piece on that defensive line for real.
Because you can rotate him, like you said, anywhere on that line.
The only reason why he leave if he wants to get paid, but at the same time, I can't be mad at him because he's performed, he's done what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's going to leave because he wants to get paid, then send it off right, get your ring. At least you have accomplished that. Because some players are like, I just want to get my ring, and then I'm like, go ahead, do you. That's why, even with the conversation with Hopkins, I'm like, I know this dude tired of being stuck with these bum situations.
Yeah,
and,
bad quarterbacks, bad coaches.
And the Texans had something promising, then they blew that up. Then you had something with the Cardinals, then they messed that up. And so I'm like, go to a winning team. Go get your one, or at least get one, and then if you want to be done with that, so be it. But that's one of them players. That's one of them players who I do want to see get one at least.
Who?
Hopkins.
Yeah, he deserves to get a title. He does.
There's a handful of players I would say that like Calvin Johnson would always be one of them players I wish I would have got one, but he got stuck in Detroit.
Yeah,
Poor
he
guy.
deserved one.
Poor
one
guy.
of the guys that I had on my list got his last year, and that was actually two guys because I had Odell Beckham. I wanted to see him get one, and then Aaron Donald.
Yeah. You definitely want to see those guys get one. So, all right, before we get up out of here, fellas, give me your game X factors on both sides of the ball.
I guess I'll go ahead and start, and I think the X factor on offense is going to be McKinnon. I think he's going to get back in the end zone. They're going to start throwing him the ball this game, and with the blocking, I could see him being helped for Wiley if Reddick's rushing from that side. So for the offense, I'll go with McKinnon. Defense, I think the X factor is going to be, and this is going to be an obvious one, it's going to be Chris Jones, right? Because last time the Eagles played the Chiefs, I remember Chris Jones having a forced fumble in that game. He actually had a pretty big day. And I know the offensive line is a little bit different now, but I think most of the pieces were set then that are there now. So for me, it's going to be Chris Jones, Jerick McKinnon.
I'm going to play the Captain Obvious card. It's got to be Mahomes. It's got to be. We all know he's a stellar player. We know he has the ability to put up the numbers and do what he needs to do. But for him to have that 2 and 4 number, that number sticks out like a sore thumb. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
That number sticks out like a sore thumb. And Chris Jones, it's a to be continued story. You finally got over the hill. So what is it going to be? How do you finish this? How do you finish this chapter of this season? Captain Obvious kind of story, but
I ain't
that's
mad
just the
at it.
reality.
I ain't mad at it.
You right. I'm gonna go on offense. I'm gonna go with this offensive line because
That's a
none
good
of
one.
that works without these guys. The offensive line is the X factor. If they could keep Mahomes clean, relatively clean, and he can do his dirt, do what he do, we have a good chance of winning this game. And on the defensive side, I'm going to go with Mr. Frank Clark. If Chris Jones is getting double teamed, but Frank Clark can get off of his blocks and do the things that he's known and accustomed to do in the playoff, we can get the playoff Clark that we've been getting, and he can get at least 1 to 2 sacks. We have a really good chance of winning this game. And if he's setting the edge like he's known to do, because he's very good at reading the run.
Yeah.
Because against this offense, communication is going to have to be key. Because that's what the 49ers ran into last week. They didn't communicate a lot. And Nick Bosa was looked out of position a lot because he was going after the quarterback on the read options, and the running back, like we did, like they're having the Chiefs, ran right past him. So they got to be disciplined when it comes to that stuff. So, but Frank Clark is good at that stuff. He's going to be the X factor. Chris Jones, I'm not worried about Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones is going to do what Chris Jones does. But when he's not getting to the quarterback, Frank Clark has to be that other guy. He's got to bring that mentality and that Frank Clark mentality that we've been seeing since the playoffs have begun. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Frank Clark on defense and the whole offensive line on offense.
I think I'm going to make a bold prediction.
Go ahead, brother.
I think the Eagles are going to give up the most points that they've given up all season in this game.
How much? What are we talking? 40s? You talking about 40?
They gave up 40 against the Cowboys. They given up north of 40, I think, based on a lot of the tape that I've watched, based on the secondary prep and what they've dealt with. I would not be surprised if the Chiefs put up north of 40. I would not be surprised at all. No holds barred. The receivers are going to get loose. Granted, the Hardman situation, that's going to be a question, but this dude, Andy's going to be in his bag. And for this team to give up 40 against the Cowboys, granted, the Cowboys, they know their division rivals well. But I think the Chiefs are going to get north of 40. I mean, they've done it a couple times. I think they've done it twice, I think, this year. 3 times the charm, I think they're going to do it again.
Okay. I like it. I like that bold prediction. I ain't got no bold predictions right now, Right now.
Karloff just breaks your sack record. Watch him end up with 3.
Hey, I'm all for that, man. Let's get it. I'm all for that. All right. You got something, Ty?
The bold prediction, I guess I would go with, I think Pacheco is going to have 100+ yards in this game.
Ooh, that happens. It might be a blowout. Yeah.
It's a possibility, too. I would not rule out a blowout possibility. Because last time, every time people say something's supposed to be close, all of a sudden it's a laugher by midway through the third.
Hey, I'll be cool with that as long as it's going our way.
A stress-free Super Bowl? Oh, man. Oh.
I might be planning my vacation midway through it.
Stuffing food in my face and I'll be happy as hell.
The smoke will be hitting my lungs early.
With a drink in my cup, I'm gonna be drunk by halftime. You have to carry me out the house. You have to come pick me up, Mark.
You need to ride.
It could very much happen though. I could see that even watching. We could talk about everybody's predicting these close games and stuff like that, and kind of like watching how they played and how different games have unfolded. If you watch some of their previous matchups, and one of the keys that not people really talking, well, I don't think gets enough talk, is actually the second quarter. Eagles are the highest scoring team in the second quarter.
Yep.
But who's not that far behind them? The Chiefs in third. The only team that was in between them was the Chargers. That was it.
That's because
They fell off the rest of the game.
That's because they were first half team.
Exactly. If the Chiefs match that energy like they did, like I said, it's all you gotta do is match or outperform.
Right.
That's it. Eagles is not a second half team by any means. So I ain't worried about that.
It's different from Cincinnati last week, right? We talked about how they were dominant in the second half of games.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different story here.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said 40 points. I almost want to say a potential blowout button. I almost could. You almost could. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you.
I'll wait till Wednesday, Thursday when you get that final injury report.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the main thing. It's got potential, but you just gotta wait and see.
I mean, we're gonna find out how good Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon really are, and we're gonna see how good this team is.
And this is all new for them too. I mean, we talked about for the players everything being different this week. It is for the coaches too. And Andy Reid's been here.
Spags
has been here quite a few times. EB's been here.
Yeah, right. So I was going to say our coaching staff
is comfortable.
We're comfortable, man. We've been here before. It's they haven't been here. That coaching staff hasn't been here before.
Because you prepare totally different. I mean, at least from what I've seen.
You do, because you got to handle the week. You know what I'm saying? You got to handle your players, and like you said, these guys have to find time to film study on their own. It's not, they have their film sessions probably, when they go into practice, whatever. But this week is so hectic. Like I said, they're getting pulled from different places, you know what I'm saying?
Outlets and...
we want you to talk about kittens. And it's like, what? Kittens? Like, you got a football game right now. You know what I'm saying? They ask
you, what's your kind of favorite food? Like, huh?
What shampoo do you use? I'm bald. What are you talking about? What are you doing here? Like, why does this lady have a job? Like, you got some 7-year-old asking you Nickelodeon questions. Like, it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, AJ Green.
Distractions.
AJ Green announced his retirement.
I thought he retired last year.
Jeez. Look, man, don't do that, man. Don't do that.
He was a beast, but I didn't. Did he even play this season? Like, where did he play?
He played with Arizona. He still was Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. That's why I ain't hear nothing about him, because he's down there.
He was still at Arizona. But yeah, no, I hear you, man. The fall off was a big fall off. Like, he went from great to like bad.
Never recovered.
He never recovered from that injury that he was suffering in Cincinnati towards the end. He didn't have the greatest of quarterbacks. He had Andy Dalton.
The Red Rifle.
Yeah, it was just – I felt bad for AJ Green. I always wanted the Chiefs to go trade for him, but they would never pull the trigger. He deserved better. But no, he had a good career. He had a very good career. He's not a Hall of Famer, but, he had a good career.
He's fringe.
Yeah. He'll probably get in when he's like 85 or some stuff. He's barely can walk.
He's got one of them things.
He's shaking.
I'm happy to be in Hall of Fame.
Got to have his grandkids talk for him or whatever, But no, shout out to AJ Green, man. He had a good career, man. He was definitely a top 5 receiver in his time when he was in his prime. So
yeah,
shout out to him. All right, fellas, go ahead and land this thing. Get this in this, man. Announcement. Tonight, me and Clarence are going to be on the 3K. Hold on, let me get it right. I don't want to be butchering their name. You know what I'm saying? I think it's the 3K podcast. It's a Philly-based podcast. Oh, okay. It's the Three in the Keystone podcast. That's what it's called. Three in the Keystone podcast. Me and Clarence will be on there. They're a Philly-based podcast, so we talking about the game. We're gonna be talking about prop bets and all that good stuff. So come check us out. Be on there.
Tails.
That's the worst prop bet.
Hit the over on Pacheco's rushing yards right now.
The national anthem over 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. What color the Gatorade
It's
is
gonna be
be?
Aretha Franklin doing the national anthem. This,
Gatorade gonna be clear.
yeah, it's gonna be orange. That's my
Right.
guess.
But yeah, we're gonna be doing we're gonna be talking about the game, different stuff in the game. So check us out, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll send the link out so you guys can tap in. You guys can check us out. Yeah, and then tomorrow we're gonna have a Philadelphia guy he's a Eagles content creator. What's his name? Hold on. Let me get it together. His name, he actually made a comment. He was the one that said "Fly Eagles Fly."
All right.
His name is Mitch. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Kofsky. That's his name. Mitch Kofsky. He's gonna be on tomorrow. Me and Clarence. We're gonna be talking about the game and get you guys ready for the Super Bowl, man. Because it's gonna be here before you know it.
Yeah, I'm waiting on my jerseys at the end of the week. We'll be here before. I got a full event this week and everything. I got my kid birthday tomorrow. Then
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
Then it'll be in Legoland Friday, Saturday, and then be home on time on Sunday.
Dang, you doing a world tour, man.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
I'm going to get some pizza in New York, and then I'll be back.
right. But it's all good though, because the last time we even took a big trip for his birthday or something like that and everything. That was the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Oh, so
we were down in Disney World. So I'm like, I said, what way to separate? What a way to celebrate? So I had the Mahomes jersey up there and everything, looking around. So that was the one time when I actually feel like part of the team. So I'm about, what are you doing Super Bowl? I'm going to Disney World because I actually paid for the tickets and I was already going.
What jersey you get?
Went with Kelsey.
You got Kelsey. There you go.
Yeah, I had
Can't
to.
go wrong with that.
I'm thinking we get me a Kelsey jersey too.
I'm gonna do that, and then probably after the game, no matter outcome and everything, I start making adjustments to this wall. I gotta add I'm probably start filling up the rest of the room, have all the jerseys going all the way around. So I have one Mahomes, one Hill, one Kelsey.
Okay.
And then who knows next year? I might have to get a polo in Andy Reid's honor.
A polo. A Hawaiian shirt.
You're right.
A Hawaiian shirt. So. All right, man. I'll go ahead and land this thing. If you look down at the bottom, you see our sponsor, Every Morning Quarterback. You see their website, emqpodcast.com/locker-room. You go there, you'll get the locker room access of all the podcasts under the Every Morning Quarterback umbrella. They got a Chargers one, a Jaguars one, a 49ers one, a Jets one, and they got our podcast. Arrowhead Chief podcast. You can check out, click on the banner. You'll see all of our recent to past episodes. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you can get all the latest episodes. And whatever streaming platform that you use to listen to your podcast, Arrowhead Chief Podcast is on there, which is Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google, Stitcher, Breaker, all of them. Arrowhead Chief Podcast is on there, so check us out. And if you look above Mark right there, you'll see our tag at AH Chief Podcast. If you check us out, we'll be on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you type that in, even on YouTube, if you type that in on YouTube, you'll find us on there. Subscribe to the channel and follow us on all social media platforms. We'll follow you back because our motto is we're not Hollywood over here. We're fans just like y'all. If you got some feedback, some criticisms, some things that y'all want us to bring up on the show, hit us up, man. We're here to listen to what you guys want to listen to within reason. Don't be coming at us with no dumb questions now. Don't be asking us to talk about stupid stuff. Yeah.
Chiefs gonna be red forever.
See, that type of stuff will get you blocked. And that's when I will act Hollywood on you and block you. So, I'll just have Clarence cuss you out. So, but no. But definitely, if you want to hit us up, definitely hit us up and follow us. And hey, man, Super Bowl week. Like I said, check us out tonight on the 3 Keystone podcast, 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Mitch Kofsky coming on. He's going to be representing for the Eagles, and we're going to be talking about the game. So, all right, Mark. I'll see you, man.
Yes, sir.
Chiefs Kingdom, y'all have a good rest of the week. Let's get this Super Bowl. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.